What's up guys, VisualMaximus here. Welcome to my top 10 personal favourite comic book superhero movies. No hate intended, just note that this is all opinion based, and that's the best way I can put this because everybody has an opinion, everybody's entitled to this. All I ask in return is if you respect my opinion, and hopefully you can give me guys your favourite comic book superhero movies. So let's get straight into it. So coming up at number 10 is Spider-Man 2. I mean, I love Spider-Man 1, it was amazing. Sam Raimi's take on the first Spider-Man adaptation into live action was amazing, no pun intended, but Spider-Man 2 was just even better. Unfortunately, Spider-Man 3 just ended the trilogy on a very bad note, but Spider-Man 2 I believe has been the peak of any of the Spider-Man movies, and for that reason, it's the number 10th spot on my favorite comic book superhero movies. Coming up at number 9 though is X-Men 2. Now, back in the early 2000s, the X-Men movies were the movies that seriously revitalized the genre of the superhero movies. If the X-Men movies didn't come out, if X-Men 2 did not come out, then boy, I tell you right now, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America, and even movies like Ant-Man would not be coming out and getting made. So thank you very much, X-Men 2. It was an amazing ensemble, one of Bryan Singer's favourite X-Men movies, and I really like it. So coming up at number 8, Iron Man 1. Now, Iron Man 1 was a B to C list character 10 years ago. Years later, his standalone movie Iron Man 3 has made the most box office money in any standalone superhero movie. Now that's Marvel Studios for you. Iron Man 1 was the first Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was a very big risk, and Marvel back then, well, they were looked upon as nobodies. Honestly, they were a dying company, believe it or not. I mean, their brand, it had good stuff going for it, but they had people like Sony and Fox ruining their brand image, so to speak. With Fox at that point making X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men 3, their brand was getting seriously hurt, and Sony making movies like Spider-Man 3, Marvel Studios knew they had to make movies themselves. And not long after, Disney brought Marvel for a whopping $4.1 billion, I believe, and Marvel Studios has been making the best superhero movies ever since. So Iron Man 1 was a risk and it paid off. Great movie. Coming up at number 7 is Batman Begins. Batman Begins was a movie where it came off the Batman and Robin movies, so it had a lot of people saying, will this movie be as bad as Bat Nipples and Robin Nipples? And that's the best way of putting it, because that movie's looked at really badly. But Christopher Nolan was on board, one of the best directors in the world, and he revitalized, but that wouldn't make sense. He revitalized the Batman genre, so to speak, because Batman genre, it's in a genre in itself. If you think about it, it's got so many movies within itself, and it's being rebooted once again with Batman v Superman. It's a genre in itself. So Batman Begins, I tip my hat off to that movie. Coming up at number 6 though is X-Men First Class. Now you have to remember that after the stench of X-Men 3 and Origins Wolverine, the X-Men franchise was looked upon very badly, and people just wanted the film rights to revert to Marvel Studios. Only X-Men First Class came out with a whole new story arc, so to speak, again, with the First Class being set on Charles Xavier, Magneto, and it also being set on Mystique. And basically, these guys were young. This was actually set in 1940s, and it was a very interesting story. In fact, Wolverine was only in the movie for like 5 minutes. So this was the first X-Men movie without Wolverine being the main guy, and boy was it amazing. I really liked this movie. As much as it messed up continuity, it was a really fun movie, one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it's just amazing. I really like Magneto's story in this movie. So coming up at number 5 is The Dark Knight. Now The Dark Knight is one of the best superhero movies there is. At least it was one of the best until as of late. it's kind of lost that position for me. But The Dark Knight, it's a movie where it really did have a complex villain. And I think that harkens back to X-Men as well, where you have a villain like Magneto who's very complex, and you have another villain like Joker who could have been not complex, he could have just been a joke, pun intended. But he wasn't a joke, he was a very complex villain, and he was a very, I'd say, villain where he goes into your mind and you ask questions about this villain. Why is he like that? Why does he do things like that? Where did he actually get those scars from? Who is he? And I think The Dark Knight was just an amazing movie. So coming up at number 4 is X-Men Days of Future Past. Now you have to remember the X-Men First Class, even though it was an amazing movie and built a reputation that it was a great movie, there were people still saying that Fox, or 20th Century Fox, can't make the X-Men movies. Even though the Wolverine was a good movie, or an okay movie at heart, and the X-Men First Class movie was amazing, in my opinion, people thought X-Men Days of Future Past was going to be bad, even though the trailer looked amazing. But there were a few significant things going bad for it, like Quicksilver, etc. So, with the huge storyline as well, with the time-traveling storyline, people thinking Fox and the X-Men Trilogy and Bryan Singer not being able to pull off this huge time travel storyline, because you have to remember, time travel is a sort of thing where it can't be pulled off so easily. You have to be skilled to pull off a storyline involving time travel. But you have to remember, they did loosely base this off a very well-known comic book storyline, Days of Future Past, which is a very noteworthy storyline. I mean, it's very, very well known for, and a lot of people like it. So, X-Men Days of Future Past is number 4th. Now, coming up at number 3 is Captain America the Winter Soldier. Now, Captain America 1 was a decent movie, it was an okay movie, it set the standard for a Captain America movie, but Captain America 2, Jesus Christ, that movie really did set the standard even more. I mean, that movie has set the bar for standalone superhero movies. With the original directors leaving and the Russo brothers coming on board, a lot of people said the Russo brothers are comedy directors. They can't make Captain America 2 to save their lives. But Jesus Christ, the fight sequences in this movie are really, really good. The twists, the actual storyline, and how S.H.I.E.L.D. went down into ashes and Hydra was born. It was a very entertaining movie, and a movie where I did not see it coming. I really like Captain America 2. It was very badass, just to say the least. So coming up at number 2 is, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'll give you guys my reasoning to why this is number 2 and why I didn't have it number 1 later on. But Guardians of the Galaxy is a movie that was a very, very risky. I think we can all just agree on that, because it's a movie involving D-list superhero. I mean, some you can even say was Z-list. I'd say so far Groot was Z-list, Gamora was kind of Z-list, and Drax and Star-Lord kind of being D-list, but that was about it. So Guardians of the Galaxy was Star Wars for Marvel Studios, even though in effect Star Wars and Avengers and all the Marvel Studios Marvel Cinematic Universe characters can actually exist in the same universe, so just let that sink in. But yeah, anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy is the Star Wars of the MCU, and Jesus Christ, did it pay off. Really, really, really good movie. I mean, I watched this movie 2 or 3 times already, I believe, and I really liked it. I mean, like I was saying though, C-list characters that Marvel had really thought it was either a hit or a miss, and that's the best way of saying it. And it was a massive hit. In fact, it almost made $700 million at the box office, and it's not opened in places like China yet. So I think they did really, really well with this, and it's opened a whole new arc with the comic book superhero movies, and it just proves that Marvel Studios is on a hot streak and they cannot be taken down. I mean, really, they pulled off a movie with a talking tree and a talking raccoon. Just let that sink in. But Avengers, I think we all knew this was coming up at number 1. It would be odd if I just said something like Catwoman at number 1. Really, the Avengers, no questions asked. I mean, I'm a Marvel Studios fanboy when it comes to it, but you have to know that Avengers is a one-of-a-kind movie. It'll always be looked upon as a one-of-a-kind movie. Hell, Justice League will come out, and Justice League will be a movie where it'll be unlike the Avengers movie, sorry, but it will always be looked at upon movie fans as a poor man's Avengers. And with Avengers 2 coming out before Justice League, that seems even more certain sort of look with the Justice League movie. But you have to remember that Avengers was a movie that Joss Whedon promised fans way back in 2006. This was a one-of-a-kind movie where 5 standalone movies, so you're waiting 6 years for this movie. 5 standalone movies that are Iron Man 1, and you have to remember Iron Man 2 counts as well. The Incredible Hulk, Captain America 1, and Thor all accumulate into the Avengers initiative. Wow, it's just amazing the Avengers pulled off. Now that Marvel Studios, the same company that made Avengers, pulled off Guardians without any of that. They pulled it off just with a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's very odd, and it's seen as sometimes some people look at Avengers, they say that they could have just pulled it off like it was. But Avengers had more writing on it. It's the Avengers, for God's sake. It needed to make more than $1 billion, and it did. So guys, there's my top 10 favorite comic book superhero movies. Let me know what you guys thought of this. Did you like my list? Did you hate it? What is your personal list? Sound off in the comment section below. And also subscribe if you're new. Like the video. Share the videos, that gets me out there. And guys, I'm logging out now. Have a nice day and peace.